Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, we're going to talk about some stuff, do some stuff and other stuff. Stuff like stuff, man. Yeah, stuff. And today's recording is going to be about PFSense. I love PFSense. I can't say enough good things about it. I've been using it for almost 10 years now, 6-7 years. Just love it. Done other videos on PFSense. Today, this video is a little bit different. Today, this video is about virtualizing PFSense. Is it a good idea to virtualize PFSense? Why would you virtualize PFSense? Well, not so much I have to, but because I want to. I want to try and see if the rumors are true, if it performs so horribly in a virtual machine as opposed to standalone metal. And then we can talk about some of the pluses and minuses of it, the pros and the cons at the end of the video. So, what have I done? Well, I've got a Dell R210 laying around. It's got a perfectly capable Xeon E3 1240 version 2 processor. It's fairly clean on using power. I think this thing at idle consumes about 25 watts. It's not very much. Running full bore, I would imagine 100 watts, maybe. At least with what I've got it doing right now, which is running basically anything that has to do with firewalls or testing of the firewall environments. What I wanted was a machine that could run all these things, that could be all these things in one machine that I could use in like a lab environment and my production environment and my real environment, you know, scale it up or scale it down any way I needed it. So that's, and that Dell R210 was sitting over there all sad and lonely. I don't like servers that aren't being put to work. Now, previously, I had PFSense installed on a little, all-in-one PC device. And while there's nothing wrong with that, it's on a little, small microcomputer, single-board computer, SBC. I forgot the Odyssey. It's the Odyssey SBC. So that, that whole system's 3 years old now. So I thought, if I could just if I could use this Dell R210 strictly, it's got good network cards in it. If I could use it strictly for running virtual firewalls and testing new software, that would be great. And then I could have my PFSense firewall running in it full-time as my full-time firewall. And then if something were to happen to this machine, I could easily take a copy of this machine or restore it on another virtual machine and have it back up and running in a matter of minutes if something catastrophic were to happen to it or if I needed to move it. And I really like the way Proxmox handles virtual machines and speaking between the virtual layer and the hypervisor layer and all the layers in between. It really works really well. I'm a big Hyper-V fan, but my second choice, well, actually it should be my primary choice, is Proxmox. And a lot of that is due to the good teachings from Sakura Kinomoto over on my Discord area where we talk about this kind of stuff, and he's taught me more than I care to admit about Proxmox and made me grow to love it. So PFSense, let's get it running on Proxmox. All right, so I just wanted to show you Proxmox on the Dell R210 Model 2. As you can see, we've got 8 Intel Xeon E3 1240 version 2 CPUs. We have a total of 16 gig of RAM up here. 20% of that is in use. We have a 64 gig hard drive, plus we have a 140 gig hard drive, which about 100 gig is left in storage space on that. It is the Dell. Let's see what else is... and here's our current CPU usage. This is 4% up here. This is our server load average, memory usage, etc. And you can see right here is our PFSense machine right here on the left. So if I go to the PFSense and go to the summary, you'll see it's running 4 CPUs. It's got 2 gig of RAM assigned to it. I'm probably going to bump that up to 4 as time goes on. Yeah, we just had a brownout. Power just kind of lost its mind for a minute. I hope that doesn't mean we're going to have a blackout. Well, we'll leave that in there. Anyway, so it's using about 66% of the memory it's assigned, so we're going to give it a little more memory. I haven't installed the guest editions for PFSense because I don't see the need right now. Everything seems to be working just fine. Now, one thing you need to be aware of on the Dell, when you're passing through, or when you have items that need to come through with being on a VLAN, you just need to be aware of this setting that I'm going to show you right here. So on my main bridge, my VMBR0, which is the main bridge to my live 5 network, we'll just call it the 5 subnet, you need to make sure that's VLAN aware. And that way it passes through if you're going to use this bridge adapter as your, connection to the internet or to other networks, then you need to make sure it's set to VLAN aware. So this adapter can see the VLAN tags when they come in and can properly route them. Otherwise, your VLANs won't work. It is very important that my VLANs work properly on my network moving forward. So I have a lot of stuff on dissimilar networks. So you have to be aware of this when you're setting up PFSense to run in a virtual environment, because PFSense is going to be controlling your VLANs. Well, in my case, it's going to be controlling my VLANs. So it'll be doing the inter VLAN routing. It'll be getting stuff out to the internet and back. It'll be distributing IP addresses on each and every subnet I have. I'm going to switch off of Microsoft DHCP and switch completely over to using it on my PFSense firewall. So that could create some problems if my DHCP goes down. For PFSense, I'll lose my DHCP on my network. So it's going to be something you're thinking of and you're aware of that could happen. And then I just installed PFSense as I normally would. I made sure I gave it 2 adapters. One adapter is connected to VMBR0, which is my 5 subnet, and then the other one is connected out via, I believe it's EN02 or VMBR1, and this is the WAN adapter. It's connected to EN02, the physical port. So that's how I use it with PFSense. I just pass that through as a bridge adapter, and then I'm using the VMXNet. As you can see here on the hardware, I'm using the VirtIO network drivers. I'm not using the E1000 or anything like that. I've just got them set up as regular VirtIO devices, virtual devices, booting to a CBIOS. I didn't want to complicate anything with UEFI BIOS or anything like that, so I wanted to simplify it, make it as easy as possible, and I think I've done it with this, and it's been zipping along. And here is my PFSense configuration as I have it right now. I have several interfaces that are not turned on right now, several VLANs that aren't, but the VLANs that are available is VLAN 50, which is the Internet of Things VLAN. It's where I put guests on my wireless network. It's where I put anything that connects to the internet, like for television or MB or Plex. I put them on this Internet of Things, usually set of subnets and IP addresses. And then VLAN 10 is for my security cameras. So these are the ones that are currently running, in addition to LAN, of course, and my fiber interface. But I do have LabNet 20. I also have VLAN 40 and 30 that are currently not set up. But let's go to VLAN 10, which is my camera VLAN. So you can see it's enabled, and I've got that. It's got an IP address of 10.254. So we use that as our gateway. And then under, DHCP server, under VLAN 10, that is set up, and here's our address range. So 10.26 through 10.199. And we've got our DNS servers in there in case it needs to go out and get DNS outside of our network. And I've turned it on. It is getting, it's giving out leases. You can see both on the 50 subnet and the 10 subnet. They're both able to give out IP addresses. I've got 2 addresses on the 50 subnet and 6 on VLAN 10. And everything is just working as it should be working. I have had no problems with it. Now, I will be honest with you and tell you this, that I did have some trouble getting VLANs set up. And I'm going to tell you how we worked that out here in just a second. But every time something wasn't working right, I blamed it on PFSense being on a virtual machine. This is how paranoid I have become about PFSense running in a virtual machine. Over the years, people just don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I understand now why people said don't do it, but it does add a level of complexity to your life that for most normal people you don't need. But, for me, who's always looking for a challenge to learn something new, I need to know this stuff. And so that's why I got it working. Anytime there was a problem, I just automatically went to the fact that, maybe virtualization is adding something to it and it's not working. That's why the VLANs aren't going through. And that was not it at all. In fact, I am now using a Netgear switch on my network in addition to all my Unify switches. And it's a Netgear managed switch, and I was having nothing but trouble the other day, just like on my Edge switch during the live stream, trying to get it configured to use VLANs. I was having the similar set of problems with the Netgear switch I recently added to my network. As part of my home network, I'm trying this out for work. And I'm getting a lab here at home, and then I can simulate it here and then put it into effect at work. So as I'm learning this new switch, I brought on some help. Jason over at Jason's Lab was kind enough I went out on Discord and asked for help because I just wasn't getting it. Nothing I did was working. The VLAN would not connect. Could not get an IP address. And Jason, God love him, we must have spent an hour on the phone that night, and he walked me through everything. I showed him my screens, and he says, "No, man, dude, it should be working. It should be working." And it didn't. I said, well, let me sleep on it and see what happens. So that night I went to sleep. Well, I went to bed. I didn't go to sleep. But I saw a video on YouTube, because when you're looking for stuff, YouTube gives you recommendations. God love them. And I came across this video that covered exactly what I was trying to do. And it explained it in a way where I was able to get my old brain cells wrapped around it and figure out, finally that epiphany. That's how VLANs work on this particular device. So I knew in my heart that I had my settings right. So I thought, well, here's what we'll do. We'll start from scratch. I'm not going to assume I have things set up properly on my Unify network. I'm going to go through every switch port, every trunk, everything you can imagine, and make sure everything is set properly before I go on to try and get the Netgear to work with VLANs, because I don't know if I've got everything configured correctly on the Unify side, because I did used to use VLANs, and sometimes this old gray matter forgets whether it flipped that switch on or off. So I thought, well, we'll get to a baseline. So I unplugged this Netgear switch, and I noticed there were a lot more plugs than I had cameras. And it got me curious. So I hooked them all back up, but in a different order this time because I was moving some stuff around. I turned it on, and suddenly, well, not suddenly, but within a few minutes, because my spouse was home, came a-running and saying, hey, came a-running? My spouse came a-running. Does anybody came a-running? Anyway, my spouse walked in on my office and said, hey, Just so you know, the TV's broken. It's giving me a message asking me to do something or some such nonsense. And I said, okay. So I went and looked at it, and sure enough, my whole network was down. And I just thought, well, man, things are going from bad this day to worse. I thought, well, I can't get the VLANs to work. I didn't put them all together. I didn't do the beep bop boops up in the brain. It wasn't working right. It was cloudy, partly cloudy. And I noticed that the lights were blinking a lot on that switch. And on all my switches, as a matter of fact. I said, what's going on? There's a shit. And my network was really, really slow. Even when I brought everything back up and brought my domain controllers back up and started looking around, and I was like, oh, man, everything is running so slow. It's just like it knocked everything down. My domain controller went offline. That went offline. They shut down. What the hell's going on? Well, boys and girls, the problem was the idiot on the end of the network cable, as it usually is. And I'm that idiot. I had not one Unify port plugged in as a link or a crossover to that other switch, to the Unify switch. I had two. And I created a broadcast storm that brought my network to its knees. So, this is why it's important you label everything. And don't just take a cable out of one switch and plug it into another because it was in the old switch. Make sure, one, you know where that's going so you can label your ports, and two, what purpose it serves. And Unky Joe didn't take his own advice. I didn't realize that on the back of the patch panel was another place to patch a cable. These are just pass-through little jacks. I forget what they call them. But anyway, so they just pass the signal through, right? So at the back of that jack, though, it was connected back to a Unify port. And I was like, Joe. So I spent the better part of a day and another half of a day trying to figure that out. And that's what it was. It was a cable. So shout out to David Grishko and to Jason from Jason's Lab for helping me get that set up and verifying that my VLAN settings were correct, except in that one instance when we know what it was, during the live stream or during the after party. But my settings were correct. It's just I had one too many cables plugged into the switch, and they don't like that. And it took a while for it to cascade throughout my network and bring everything down. And everything else that happened that day was just a coincidence. But it learned a valuable lesson. This is why we do stuff in labs, so we can screw up like this and learn from our mistakes. And I have. So there you go. Just so you know, you can virtualize PFSense in on a hypervisor. If you do it properly and take a little plan, make a little time to plan ahead and figure out how you're going to do things before you just kind of jump into it. And make sure you don't have me doing any of your cabling because the SS shitstorm shall ensue, I guarantee you. It's all right. And you'll be fine. Folks, this is how you learn, and it just goes to show you're never too old to learn. And never assume you know everything. That's why people around you that love you will tell you, hey, slow down, start from scratch, verify. Don't just take it for granted just because you see a cable plugged in that's where it needs to go. Verify it. And so now on to labeling my network. Oh, that ought to be a lot of fun. Well, anyway, we hope you found this video entertaining and informative as always. Please give us a thumbs up down below if you liked the video. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and click that little notification bell to be notified of any new videos as soon as they come out. Why wait, right? Suffer now rather than later. Come back and see us again. Oh, donate. Yeah, we could use some coins. Yeah, they help keep the lights on. PayPal, Patreon, YouTube join function, YouTube premium membership. We all get a slice of the pie, yada, yada, yada. You know the spiel. And don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side.